We're here today with Doug Rich, VP of EMEA Tintri. Thank you for agreeing to talk to us, Doug.
Pleasure.
So can you provide a little general background about yourself first?
Sure, yeah, I've been in IT over 25 years, about 20 years of that in storage.
Right.
So I've worked for some large organisations, some very large vendors. I've also, I guess, got in my track record 6 startups. One of them becoming a very large company, which was Veritas. So I was at Veritas for 12 years, from very small company to global billion-dollar company with 7,000 employees. So I've seen in storage and in IT, I've seen both ends of the spectrum, from startups that have come out with something with an idea, which has started as a small idea, ended up as a really big idea, and grown into a big company.
So how would you describe Tintri? What if you were explaining in a short sentence what you do, what would it be?
So what we do is we have a radical approach to storing or storage for virtualized environments. So storage is nothing new, it's been around for about 20, 30 plus years, but what we bring to it is a unique way of storing virtualized data. So if you look at what's the revolution that's happened in servers in the last few years, where people have gone from physical servers to virtual servers, the storage hasn't really changed. And what Tintri does is bring a radical new approach to countering that problem.
So you say radical. In what way is it radical and unique?
Well, we're addressing an age-old problem of storage for data centers, but we're doing it in a very radical way, which is we've designed a product from the ground up just to store to do storage for virtualization. So if you think a huge percentage of new projects are virtualized today. So instead of one physical server and then one physical piece of storage underneath, that was the old world. Today you have perhaps one server with many hundreds of virtual machines on it. So you can't store the storage the same way. It just doesn't scale. It produces all sorts of bottlenecks and other things. So what we've done is we've designed a product, the ground up, with a file system that just focuses on virtualization. So if I may use an analogy, a good example would be like imagine a very large swimming pool, and the large swimming pool is full of swimmers, and each swimmer represents a virtual machine. So there could be fast virtual machines or fast swimmers, slow swimmers. There may be some swimmers who are swimming in the wrong direction or bumping into other guys. And that swimming pool could have thousands of swimmers in it. That's really what it's like to try and store data from a virtualized world today. There's all sorts of issues that could have problems. So what Tintri have done is they haven't put the swim lanes in afterwards, because there's room for error there. People can swim underneath those. So what we've done is we've built the swimming pool from the ground up with thousands of swim lanes. So each swim lane could be for a particular swimmer, whether it's an important database or maybe there's an invoice that has to go out, but there's no interruption. So it's a logical relationship between the server and the storage. Everything's got its swim lane. So imagine for a service provider or a data center, you could offer quality of service per virtual machine. You could say this VM needs to have gold service, but this one, actually that can wait a while, that only needs bronze performance. So that's where we find ourselves dealing a lot with service providers or with enterprise customers who want to offer internally gold, silver and bronze. So what's the difference between Tintri and any other piece of storage? It is that ground up architecture and that file system that's built just to do that one thing really, really well.
So is there much of a limit to the amount of lanes you could have?
No.
Okay.
No, it is, we can handle a huge amount of virtual machines. So, and you can just add another Tintri node to your pool as you want to add more VMs or more storage. It's really architectured not to hit those sort of limits.
So what sort of feedback have you had so far about this new method of virtualization?
It's we've been in the UK and in Europe for about 4.5 years, so we're not a new company. We've got many enterprise customers. Once people actually see it, once they do a proof of concept, they can see why it's so different. To be honest, up front, many potential customers will think, no one does it that way, that's crazy, that can't be done. So we prove it a lot, but now we're getting a little bit more well known, and we have large enterprise customers as customers. We use referencing a lot. So it's tough to prove that you're so radical and so different until people test drive it. You know, it's a bit like some of these electric cars. You can say how great it is, but you really want to drive it and see, you know, how different they are.
So what would you say the biggest challenges are for you and that particular area of the industry going forward over the next few years?
Well, it's rapidly being adopted. We've seen virtualization grow from, we were looking at the leap year 4 years ago. Virtualization was about sort of 38-40% roughly on new projects. Today it's over 75%. So the challenge is this has happened, virtualization has happened, and we've seen that across the industry. What it is now, it's looking at how we store that data, because it's created a different set of problems that Tintri and other companies are looking to solve for customers.
Of course, one of the main concerns for consumers, clients with any type of data management is security. I mean, how do you feel that the security of data is going at the moment? What kind of keeps you up at night at the moment?
Well, we're seeing, Tintri, probably like many other organisations, we have lots of components that provide additional security depending on if you're a government customer. But we're seeing we haven't had any issues around that. We think we have a very strongly created product. The founder of our company actually was the head of engineering for VMware, so he's very familiar with virtualization and any issues around security with virtualization. So he's designed a product. I mean, we are a ground up product just for storing virtualization. So we think some of the issues that may or may not be seen in other organizations, we're not seeing. And we've built in additional components just as an insurance policy against that.
So obviously a lot of it ties in with what is now known as cloud computing. What are your thoughts about, because obviously there are some who use what they call hybrid cloud. What are your thoughts on that, where they do a mix of using actual servers and virtual servers? What are your
We're seeing a huge, very fast adoption of the hybrid cloud. We've all looked at the private cloud or the public cloud, and this sort of happy medium seems to be the most palatable to customers. Today it's probably about a third of our business is cloud-based services, so people using our infrastructure tools, and we can see that moving to perhaps half of our business in the cloud. It's a huge focus for Tintri, and the reason is we're seeing across the industry customers looking to perhaps outsource some of the non-critical parts of their workload, and I think this is a general trend in the IT industry. There's a lot of lower, maybe less skilled areas that we want to automate. That's always been the one of the goals of IT, to automate some of the more basic tasks. And we're seeing customers keeping in-house their crown jewels, their key parts of their business, but anything that's perhaps not business critical, they might look at outsource. If you look at where Tintri fits in with that, we're providing the storage virtualization products to our customers to do that in-house. And also we have third-party cloud providers use Tintri as the platform to store that data.